Greetings and salutations. Renee Box Young going live with our series, Boxing Then and Now, Part 6. I'm so excited as always to have this show, to have this series with the OGs, with the family, learning so much, concerning the sport of boxing historically and now, comparing, amazing historical topics as far as the sport of boxing from then and now, you know what I'm saying? And we learned so much. And it's an honor to have my honorable guest, our honorable guest, Stormy B-Man, Reggie Owens. Kurtis, we'll see if he shows up in a moment. I'm sure he's going to show up in a moment. And I just want to, express my gratitude and appreciation to you guys, to Reggie, to Stormy B, to Kurtis, for jumping in, for accepting, to be part of this series. And, all the community who's been jumping in, commenting, I'm really appreciative of everybody, of all the community that jumps in, comments, you also put your input, and we talk about the comments also, the people that post their comments, everybody. It's such an honor, and it's so much fun. I would love it. We had such a busy weekend, we're talking up a little bit, talking with Stormy B-Man, with Reggie, busy weekend, busy fight weekend, surprises, right? Obviously surprises. But first and foremost, before we get to that, we're going to have a warm-up topic in a moment. But first and foremost, how you doing, Stormy B? Everything good?
Oh, yeah, man. I'm doing very good. Thanks for having me again. And salute to you. Salute to Reggie, Kurt, and the chat that's out there ready to get it going. Talk about this good boxing talk, man.
And I was going to say, too, I was thinking about this earlier today. I was doing some stuff in the morning, and I was reflecting, and I was like, it's so cool to have a community that really loves the sport of boxing. I'm so, like I said, I feel real fortunate to, having, getting the opportunity to know you guys, getting the opportunity to know that there is really a community that really loves the sport of boxing with a passion. And I'm really appreciative of that. I was reflecting that earlier today. I was like, man, it's so awesome. It feels like, we known each other for a long time. You know what I'm saying? It feels like, because we got this in common. We got the love of the sport in common. You know what I mean? And we learned so much from each other, and I'm so grateful of that. Reggie Owens, how you doing, bro?
Man, I'm doing good, man. And I'm ready to get into this talk too, man. But I've been doing real good. Watched a great result in the fight and watched a couple of other good fights. So it was a great weekend and great day to talk about what happened yesterday and what's happened then and now.
Definitely, man. Definitely. Yeah, actually, I want to start out with that as a warm-up. You know what I'm saying? As a warm-up topic, we got our bullet points that we're going to reveal in a moment. And I'm sure that those who have seen the thumbnail on my channel, as far as the description of today's show, I'm sure you guys saw it. If you didn't, we're going to reveal it in a moment, right? We're going to get it out there. And great stuff we're going to talk about today. And people are already jumping in the building. Brusco, salute. Thank you so much, Bruscos, for jumping up on in. Y'all, the first ones coming up here. Phenomenal Mexican. Also, let me get there. Let me get to it real quick, just to see what you guys are saying. Salute, Renee Boxing. Salute, man, brother. We love you, man. Phenomenal Mexican. Also, salute, brother. Thanks so much for jumping in, bro. 1,000 days gone, just like that. Oh man, that's exactly what our warm-up topic is going to be, brother. Brusco, salute, and Stormy B-Man. That's what I'm talking about. Brusco, salute, and Stormy B-Man, saluting everybody. That's what I'm talking about. Awesome. So let's get to it, man. Let's get to the warm-up here. Let's warm up the mic. Let's warm up our brains. Let's warm it up. Let's warm our voices up. Clearing out our throats. That's what I'm talking about. So let's talk about it here. Stormy B-Man, as a matter of fact, went live last night with Reggie Owens. Late night session, definitely chopping up what happened yesterday. So much stuff happened in the sport of boxing. I didn't see all the fights, man. There were just so many fights out there, man. So, I saw several of them. But one of those, right, one of the highlights as far as the heavyweight division is Dillian Whyte went down. Dillian Whyte went down, baby. That's what I put in Stormy B's chat there, right? When he went live, I just had to, express my gratitude. Why gratitude? I mean, I just said a moment ago, right, before we went live, I've actually said this yesterday also when I called the fight, Joy Spencer and West fight. I don't, I try not to, get all happy about a guy falling, the downfall of another man. No, of course not. But what I do like is how, things are put in their place. People are put in their place that should be put in place. That's what I'm happy about. Because, Dillian Whyte, man, for years, I remember back, before Dillian Whyte fought Anthony Joshua, I felt like, who is this guy? Because I didn't really know who Dillian White was, honestly, until he fought Joshua. So, the buildup of that fight, I noticed how he was so, mouthy, and I was like, all right, well, it's part of the sport, right? But, how he fought in the ring, and I was thinking, that kind of fighting, I was thinking, all that talk that Dillian White was doing, before he fought Anthony Joshua, and this is what he has to prove in the ring. It really didn't impress me. And then after that, he just kept running and running his mouth. Then Wilder on the scene, amazing WBC heavyweight champ, right? At that time, reigning for years and years, and Dillian White whining and complaining and pouting and cheating and et cetera, man. I want my chance, these bums, and Wilder's a bum. I can't believe he even called him that. You know what I'm saying? And the day of, reckoning came to Dillian White. And this is why, and he lost to Povetkin too. So, I mean, interesting stuff, man. Very interesting stuff. That's why I say it's a highlight. It's not just any other knockout. It's not just any other win. I mean, hats off to Povetkin. Did great with that knockout. Wonderful uppercut, clean uppercut that he gave to Dillian White. Everybody thought, right? Most of us, at least I did, I thought Povetkin wasn't going to win, man. The first several rounds, I mean, Dillian White was he's doing decent. I mean, I'm not going to say he wasn't, right? Great jabbing, great boxing, on the inside, going to the body. I mean, he was doing pretty well, and then he knocked Povetkin down twice because of that, nice boxing. And I was thinking, wow, Povetkin's going down, man. He's not going to make it in this fight. And then he just surprised the world, right? With knocking down Dillian White, knocking him out. He just knocked him out cold. You guys already saw it, right? So the reason why I say all this is because, I mean, it's not just any other knockout. It was a knockout that really, it was a win and a victory that was really, it really vibrated throughout the world in the sport of boxing because of Dillian White's mouth, because of his trajectory, because of his cheating, debatable cheating, I guess, right? Because of him fighting and trying to fight his way to the top, you know what I'm saying? Man, the wrong way. That's what really irritated me about Dillian White, and the wrong way, trying to get to the top with his mouth and not fighting his way up. You know what I'm saying? Not fighting those mandatories that were brought up to him, not fighting Ortiz, not fighting, you know the names, So first and foremost, man, Stormy already talked about it in his platform, but I just want to see, what are your thoughts, Stormy, about Dillian White? Do you think he has a future now? What is he going to do next? What do you think he's also going to do next?
Well, I'm not in his head, so to talk about what he's going to do next, that's not necessarily for me to say. But
right,
for people who want to say like it's over and he's washed and this and that, I mean, you can say that about anybody when they lose, but the whole measure of a person is once you've suffered a setback is how you handle the setback and put yourself in a position to come back from a setback. So if he has any ambition or opportunity will be on the table for him to return. But if he took to heart the lesson that I speak on often about these guys not taking on quality opposition where they can learn and develop and reach plateaus. See, these guys out here today have fought a succession of fights against men that they're supposed to beat and guys that they're matched against that they're supposed to look their best against. But this modern era have left out the part about development to get to a point where now you have to learn how to deal with adversity. Now you have to deal with that's uncomfortable or even unfamiliar with you. And what happens when you are exposed to circumstances such as that? The trainers and managers get a chance to get a look at the guys so that they can make proper assessments on the parts of their careers that they need to work at. You see, it's just like a model, a clay model, a sculptor who works with clay, and he strips away the inessentials until you begin to see his vision forming. That's the way it is with fighters, and you have to do that. You can't skip the process. You can't skip the line. That doesn't work well for you in boxing. And we talk about it all the time. These guys don't want to listen. They say, oh, this guy got a punch. He can knock everybody out and this and that or whatever. But everybody is not there to be hit with that punch. Everybody is not there to even allow that punch to get off. You understand? So it's like when you have to go through the process, there are plateaus where fighters learn things, and then you're able to put that into a toolbox and grow from there, and so forth and so on. It's gradual. You listen, everybody can jump into the race, but everybody's not going to finish it. Okay. And somebody's going to finish first and somebody's going to finish last. That's life. Okay. But where you place is up to you. Huh? So as a fighter, a good trainer and quality managers and everything, they will show and let their protege know these things. You got a lot of guys out there that are Dillian Whites that don't have the mouth that he has, or even the charisma to draw attention to being heard, allowing his mouth to be heard from. So it's not just him, but across the entire sport, you have numerous guys that are definitely in the path of what he discovered last night, that he is not all that he thought he was, but will he learn from it or not? We will find that out. Will he come back or not? We will find that out. But again, it's been made public, okay? And the court of public opinion can be very harsh on you. You understand? That's life. So again, it's not just Dillian White, but it's the participants in the sport of boxing. There's something to be taken from this. Yeah, we all had a great laugh and everything, and we're going to laugh some more, specifically because it was Dillian White. But there is a lesson to be learned from this situation. And I just hope that some of them get it. That's what I have to say.
Definitely, man. The thing here is I don't think many are taking that, what Stormy B is saying. You know, it's very true foundational truth here that, you know, a lot of people aren't taking into consideration the lesson learned. A lot of fighters got to, you know, keep their eyes open and learn from this. Definitely. Curtis, how you doing, brother? Curtis, thanks so much for joining, bro. How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, Renee? I was a little late. I was doing something with the wife. I'm here, you know, ready to talk some boxing. What's up, Stormy B, man, Reggie, Owens? Well, what's going on, chat? What's up with you, Renee?
Man, great to have you, bro. And, you know, hope everyone's doing great, you know, on your side, you know, the wife, the kids and stuff. That's good stuff, bro. Let me get real quick to the chat. We're just warming it up, Curtis. We're just talking about Dillian White, you know, how he went down last night. Everybody talking about it, right? We're just talking a little bit about that, right? To warm up the microphones, right? To warm up our vocal cords. You know what I'm saying? Let me get to the chat real quick. People are jumping up on in here, man. Definitely. Phenomenal Mexican says, Povetkin told White, that's my bike. Yeah, that's my bike, punk. All right. CJ, salute Renee in the panel. Hey, I appreciate you, CJ. I appreciate each and every one of you guys that are jumping up in here. H Money, Mr. DAZN. All right, Reggie. Oh, salute, big homie. Hey, what's going on, bro? How you doing, man? Thanks so much for joining, man. Definitely. You're all welcome up in here. Bruce goes, you know, saluting family there. Haney. Definitely, man. Devin Haney and the dream. That's what I'm talking about. All right. CJ says, like White thought Povetkin was hurt and he slightly threw caution to the wind. It looks like it, man. It really does look like it. Maybe he got a little bit too overconfident. I mean, 2 knockdowns, who wouldn't get confident, right? I mean, so it looks like he maybe got a little bit too confident and boom, out of nowhere. Good night, buddy. Box fans. Hey, I appreciate you, bro. Thanks so much for tuning in. We are family. We are one community, as I commonly say that here. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. You're all welcome up in here, man. Thanks so much. It's Haney time. All right. I feel you, bro. CJ, you know, saluting Bruce goes. That's what I'm talking about. You know, box fans, y'all saluting each other. Let me get back here. Yeah, man, definitely. Reggie's going to cook it up. Definitely, man. We got the OGs too cooking it up in here, man. I appreciate it. Awesome, man. We got MMA champ commentary. Hey, yo. MMA champ commentary. Salute, bro. Welcome. I got some UFC, a little bit of UFC content also. MMA champ. You want to go check it out later in the chat. I'm sorry, in my channel. You go check it out. Also, we in the building, definitely, bro. I appreciate each and every one. D Hodges is up in here too, man. Y'all just showing up and showing out today. Thank you guys so much for jumping up in here. We got Kasim Baker. You can go ahead and subscribe. Remember to subscribe to Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. You'll see the yellow icon right there, the symbol. He also has a backup channel. Okay, because I'm saying this because it looks like some of your people are new here. So Reggie Owens also has a backup channel. Same thing, Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. Actually, I'm gonna put it up here. Right there. There it is. Okay. So you guys go check it out. Go check Stormy B out. Also, man, Stormy B, man, always bringing out amazing content. You also got Kurtis Anderson with Stormy B Thursday nights. Thursday nights. They got an amazing show. 3 Wise Men of Boxing. I mean, you guys who are new coming up in here. Hey, I mean, you got some amazing content from these brothers. Amazing content. That's why, I got these brothers here. We learned so much from each other. So, man, y'all got to get up in it. If you guys aren't, okay, if you guys are new, like, subscribe, share here also. Kasim Baker, what's my channel? It's Renee Box Young, bro. It's Renee Box Young, okay? You can just check it. You can just find my channel like that, Renee Box Young. The icon right there. It's like the city in the background and, the Mexican colors right there in my name. So, I mean, that's what it is, all right? So, yeah, man, you're all welcome up in here. So, Reggie, what can you say about Dylan White and what happened yesterday?
The greatest shit I ever seen in a long time is what happened last night, especially to a dude. This is what you call karma, man. Karma in the square is exactly what happened to this dude. He's talked so much big ish about other people in the game. He's one of these guys who will kick folks when they're down, and he has to understand he's in the dangerous division. So being humble was kind of the best way to go about things. And he's really one of the only guys out there that kicks people when they're down. The other guys out there have always humbled themselves. Even Tyson Fury, he may come off goofy saying, he does a lot of little comical type stuff, but I had never seen this dude kick someone when they're down. AJ doesn't do it. Wilder doesn't do it. None of the heavyweights do it, but this guy. And now he comes into this event against a 40-year-old, and remember him ducking Luis Ortiz, claiming he's too old, but really that was code word for he's a little too dangerous. I'm going to stay away from him, but contradict the hell out of myself and fight other old men. But he comes in here against a guy named Povetkin who went to bat against a damn cruiserweight who moved up, and Michael Hunter. We've seen the resilience of Povetkin. Povetkin is one of these dudes who just because you drop him, it is not going to keep him down. That guy's going to keeping on, and he showed that shit yesterday. And that was so remarkable about this damn fight is that he gets hit with that first punch, which kind of was when he's throwing a punch. He gets knocked down. First thing I noticed is how Povetkin got up, and he went right towards Dylan White. So that let me know, he wasn't too hurt by that punch. Maybe he was knocked off balance. And he's staying right up in there, not afraid of Dylan White, not about to show Dylan White any respect, because the minute he shows signs of fear, that ignites Dylan White. So that was another veteran tactic from Povetkin, from my perspective, to go right back in there, but also try to, secure and maintain a little bit of safety, knowing he's a little dangerous with that left hand. But he goes back in there. He gets caught right in between offense, falling asleep, not keeping himself safe. Gets caught with a punch right on the uppercut. Matter of fact, almost the same place Dylan White, he hit Dylan White. Dylan White hit him in the same area with a punch. Catches him, he drops, takes his time to get up. He gets up, clears himself off. Mind is still in balance. He gets out the round. They go right into that next round. It was beautiful what I seen. That damn setup of that punch was brilliant. And all it was him making the adjustment, him being a veteran, him having the smarts to go in there and know what he had to do against Dylan. And also he was doing something that Dylan couldn't figure out. It just shows me Dylan doesn't have that quick ability to think on his feet, because Povetkin will throw that right hook, usually he'll throw it targeted towards the head area. Dylan will duck up under those punches, but leave the left side of himself open. Povetkin would hit him with the left hook, and he was constantly running that same little setup there, that little hook, followed by the left hook down to the body. So when he comes into this one, he changes it up. He throws the jab, but with the same hand. He throws the jab. That one gets there. He already knows what's about to happen. There's going to be a return punch from Dylan White, who was landing some pretty effective jabs. He knew to slide up under that shit. He slid up under it, seen that arm out there, went right up under there to that chin, and Dylan was out. That punch was so damn powerful. Dylan, 260? He probably 270. lifted up slightly up off onto his heels, onto the heels of his feet before he fell backwards. That was a high impact damn punch. High impact. And that shit was remarkable. Had me out my damn near out my seat, man. I could have jumped through the damn roof, man. But damn, what a beautiful display of boxing in that moment, being in the moment where this dude was knocked down twice the round before. And most people thought it was over. And even me, I didn't even think that this going into it, because I wasn't gonna watch the fight. I was just like, Dylan's just gonna work through this dude. And it's last second, something changed my mind. Like, I need to check into this thing, because something may end up happening, and something major end up happening on this plantation. Eddie Hearn ran up into his room, started soaking and crying in his pillow. He was so damn hurt. Eddie Hearn, Matchroom, everybody over there hurt. The father hurt. He probably had a heart attack. Can't none of them believe what they saw. And they put Povetkin, and this is why you take these careers serious, because you never know where your career may go. You may take a few bumps, take a few falls, but you stay resilient, stay right up on it. Now look where Povetkin is at. Povetkin is right inside the heavyweight championship hunt, because he never gave up on himself. Never gave up on himself. And that's the thing, man, especially with these guys from these other countries. Like, I like to harp on this shit now lately. These other dudes from this other country give you a little something extra, man. Boxing means a whole lot to these guys. There's a lot of pride riding behind these guys, and they fight for something. The fame and the accolades isn't something that blinds them. They're not caught up in a lot of that stuff, not caught up in the publicity, but what they're caught up in is the love of the game, the love of legacy, the love of being recognized as boxing is, you're the man amongst men, and that's what a lot of them get in here and compete at. And if you ain't knocked them out, you showing the hell ain't gonna make them quit. They're going to keep getting the hell up. And that's what has to be understood and recognized with these other fighters in here. You don't take no one lightly in this game. You seen Sean Porter fight a lesser tier opponent, didn't take the guy lightly, and it showed. And that's what has to start being shown in boxing, man. And more of these setups. And Povetkin did not overcommit for the knockout. In that moment, the knockout just came. And that shit was beautiful. But that's all I got.
You know, we can learn so much from this. Like Povetkin, like you just said right now, he never gave up. Now he's, now he's being eyeballed, you know what I'm saying, for top competition in the heavyweight division, because he didn't give up. You know what I'm saying? I thought the same thing, and I think many of us did, right? As far as the boxing community is concerned, thinking that Dillian Whyte was going to take out Povetkin. I thought that, before watching the fight, I was like, Dillian Whyte's going to take him out. But I mean, we saw something totally different, and something CJ says, something important here. Interesting. He says, I was very surprised by Dillian Whyte's improvements. Exactly. That's the thing. He was boxing great. I mean, he was boxing okay. I mean, I saw improvements. Definitely. I think we all did. Even the commentators did. I don't know if the commentators were really biased or anything. I don't really know. Right. But they were really emphasizing on the fact that Dillian Whyte, his jab really, really improved. Crisp jabbing, crisp boxing, you know what I'm saying? So interesting stuff. So, and something else that, Reggie Owens said, that's good stuff here. Let me just get right there. That this is something that Reggie just mentioned a moment ago, and he's been mentioning it, constantly. I remember back when we would talk about Rosario in the series, right? Rosario versus Hurd, and how Reggie touched upon that fact, that, these foreign fighters, we saw it with Formella, right? Reggie just talked a little bit about that right now. And he talked about it a lot yesterday when he was calling the fight between Porter and Formella. How Formella, I think he's a German descent guy coming from Germany out of country or something like that. So, I mean, you can see I was really Formella took a beating. I thought he was going to get knocked out around round 6. I thought this boy is going to get knocked out or they're going to stop the fight. Man, to my surprise and to many people's surprise, that boy he lasted to round 12. And that dude looked like didn't get any cuts in his face, man. And he just kept going and he didn't stop. That talks about a lot of heart. And we cannot undermine fighters that go in the ring, man. I learned a lot last night. And I learned that, you know what I'm saying? A match can just switch at the blink of an eye. That's the phrase I was trying to look for. At the blink of an eye, everything can just change. A fighter's career can really, really get jeopardized. His reputation could go down. That's what we saw with Dillian Whyte. Not like he really had a good reputation or anything like that. But, I mean, man, it just came out all last night, and very interesting stuff. Kurtis, what can you say about that with what happened with Dillian Whyte in your own words?
Well, this fight reminded me of a fight that I like to talk about, Tommy Hearns versus Iran Barkley, because Tommy Hearns was beating the stuffing out of Iran Barkley, and all of a sudden, without warning, Barkley looks at the floor and lands an overhand right and knocks out Tommy Hearns. Caught him on the way down. Um, Dylan White, he looked good. He was in shape, but you don't have to do anything wrong to get knocked out. A lot of people don't talk about that. I call boxing the ultimate truth serum, you know, because it will tell you the truth about yourself. He was a victim, Dillian White, that is, of a well executed, very technical punch, timing, all of that. It was almost like an anomaly. You will every now and then get a perfect knockout, and that's what that was. I done seen it millions of times because I done been watching boxing for 46 years, but it was a perfect punch. Marciano Walcott, Barkley Hearns, Michael Nunn versus Sambu Kalambi, Tommy Hearns versus James Schuler, and you can have your hands up, and but Povetkin IQ, instead of throwing a left hook when he crouched, he threw the uppercut. That's something that Rocky Marciano used to do. And Joe Frazier, and especially Mike Tyson, dip to the left or dip to the right and come up with the uppercut because he's a shorter fighter, and he got the powerful arms and he's low to the ground. So the uppercut is a perfect knockout punch, is what we call the coup de grace, the finishing touch. Dillian footwork, it was the problem, not his hand positioning. It's not like he did anything wrong, but if he was on a constant move, then more than likely he would have got Povetkin out of there. But this is where it gets tricky. You can have all the momentum in the world in the boxing ring and out the boxing ring. But the thing is, when you ahead and you knock the guy down a couple of times, it's human nature to let your guard down, not only physically but mentally.
Exactly.
And it's just a matter of time. Because I'm quite sure we all think that, and I know the rules, but I was also thinking that as well because that's human nature. Something in you says, "I got this guy. I'll wait till I land another punch." He was down twice. That's what your conscience is telling you, you know. But it doesn't go like that in boxing. That's why I call it the truth serum. If you make a mistake or the other guy, your opponent, just happen to be in perfect position to throw a certain punch, then it's good night Irene or good night Sweet Prince. And that's what it is. It was beautiful because the jab was lazy by White. And Povetkin saw it. He was on the inside. He dipped to the left. He was in perfect range. And boom, right between the gloves. Perfect. There was a uppercut that Matthew Saad Muhammad threw against Latte Mawali. You guys go look at that fight. It was probably the best uppercut I ever seen. But and that's boxing. You don't have to do anything wrong. Most times, fighters do to get knocked out. They leave themselves open. But I done seen fighters with the perfect hand position, and the punch just barely squeaks through and lands on the sweet spot, which is the chin. And down goes Frazier. And these words, down goes White. So that's boxing. I have vast knowledge of boxing and football, basketball, baseball, soccer, hockey, but boxing is the best sport because even though tennis is one on one and golf, you're playing against the field, in the course, boxing is you have to take the other man out, you have to outthink him or outpunch him. It's very compelling, the sport of boxing. And it was a good day yesterday, and we're going to have more days. I can't wait to September 26th, and one thing before I pass the mic, a shout out to Kenny Porter because he recognized something that a lot of people didn't. I even called Stormy because Formella came out and he has a very good jab. I was very impressed with Formella, even though he got the break speed off him. But the fight changed when Sean went back to the corner and his father said, you're going to have to rough this boy up. The whole fight changed after Sean Porter said, I just can't stand a boxer's man flat-footed. He did two things. He was on his toes and he fought him on the inside. That's Sean Porter's style. The reason I brought that fight up is because a trainer recognized what his fighter needed to do and he implemented in the next round, and Sean Porter won comfortably. That's why I brought that fight up.
No, definitely, man. Awesome stuff, man. Thanks so much, Kurtis. And that's true that I didn't pay attention to that. Of Kenny saying that to his son. I didn't know that. Yeah, and yes, it looks like he saw that in Formella and he had to counter that. Definitely, man. And interesting stuff here also with the comment the comments here in the chat. Let's get to it real quick before we start getting into the topic of what the meat of the show is about here. We got this. That's the scary thing about the heavyweight division. One punch from a defensive lapse can end the fight. Yeah, definitely. And just kind of like what Kurtis was saying right now, that it's in our human nature, man, to get confident after winning, after anything. We lift our chin up and stick our chest out, and it's like, all right, I got this. I got boom. It's over. It's just totally, at the flip of a dime. I mean, it's just over, so it's crazy. So, yeah, man, in the heavyweight division, man, one punch, it's game over, man. And CJ continues to say, I think that this fight will actually help White from a learning standpoint. Definitely, kind of like what Stormy B was alluding to a moment ago. I mean, this can really help. I mean, it's a learning experience for White. And let's hope it is, right? And I hope he really does. I don't know what to say about White, I just hope the best for him. I hope he's okay. But what I do remember is that right after the fight, he went to Hearn and he wants the rematch. So from what I understand, there's a rematch clause. So just expect that, everybody who's tuning in, expect that. I'm saying? I'm almost positive there's going to be a rematch, but who knows, right? Just like Stormy B said a moment ago, that, who knows what's in the mind of White, of people in general, right? So, I mean, we'll see what happens, right? But he did go directly to Eddie Hearn, and he said, he wants the rematch, and Eddie Hearn was like, yeah, this heavyweight boxing, don't worry, and it's like, yeah, that's all good. So we have here MMA champ commentary. The uppercut was beautiful. Definitely, man. Phenomenal Mexican laughing about that in this plantation. Yeah, I slept on Povetkin too, bro. Box fans, you're not the only one. I admit it too. I'm saying? I slept on Povetkin. I definitely did. I thought Dillian White was going to go in there and take him out. I'm saying? That's pretty much what I thought. MMA champ says something interesting. I think it's safe to say Dillian has no chin. How many times has? Yeah, true. Very true. Could be he has a weak chin there. Definitely, man. Phenomenal Mexican says box fans. So did White. So White slept on Povetkin too. Yeah, man. Yeah. Story be laughing. So let me continue here in the chat. There's something, something. Let me go right here, just real quick, guys. Just bear with me, just a couple seconds here. So we have MMA champ continue to say, I think White is going to use AJ's game plan that he used in Ruiz to, the boxing. We'll see though, right? We'll see, because remember that AJ, I mean, he was using good footwork in the rematch against Ruiz, all around the ring. I don't know if White can really do that. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see, right? But it can be, hit, not get hit. You know what I'm saying? It could be that can be his game plan for a rematch if they rematch. That's just it. After White thought that Povetkin was hurt, he went away. Yeah, that's something I wanted to highlight here too. What CJ's saying, that when White thought Povetkin was hurt, he went away from the jab, and started leading with hooks and straight, boom, and then good night, buddy. Yeah, so I mean, definitely MMA continues to say I had White winning for. Yeah, I think everybody did actually. Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, box fans definitely right. Formella is tough. I enjoyed that fight. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing there. That's the thing. Even though, and a lot of people try to undermine this part, that even though Formella was getting worked, I mean, him being tough and he was doing the best, I learned from Formella as a fan. Give it your all and keep going until it's over, and just like what I think Reggie Owens was saying right now a moment ago, that, don't give up, keep going. And that's exactly what Povetkin did, even though he got knocked down twice. How demotivating is that? How discouraging is that to be a fighter in the ring? Obviously, I'm not a fighter or anything like that. I've sparred and stuff like that and trained, but just imagine the discouragement, man. Just imagine the demotivation, being knocked down twice, being in the ring, in a fight, fight night, the world's watching you, being knocked down twice. You know, that's a big demotivator, man. And what did Povetkin do? He didn't give up. He kept going. He kept going. He kept going. So I mean, big ups to Povetkin, man. Amazing victory, definitely, man. A soccer training club. Hey, thank you so much for joining, bro. Thank you so much, man. You know, all love to you, bro. D Hodges continues to say here they was up to 20 plus. It's you're talking about the game, right? The Mavericks. The Mavericks up by 12. Hodges says so. Okay, guys. So let's get here. Okay, last one here. I just want to get into this. We're talking about the reset. The rematch is most likely got to be October. Yeah, around there because there is 3 months suspension for knockouts. Oh, okay. Yeah, 3 months suspension. Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, man. For White and Povetkin, we got our eyes on Povetkin, man. We'll see what's next for him as far as the heavyweight division. So interesting stuff, man. So let's get to it. You know, we're warming up our vocal cords, warming up what we're talking about here. All right, man, let's get into it. So we're going to talk about in this show, boxing then and now. I was going to say box conversations, boxing then and now. Definitely part 6. We're going to talk about coaches. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so let me just do this real quick just to give you a visual, you know, some visual stimulation here. Just wait a second here. Let me get right to this. Just bear with me, you guys. Let me just get here. I want to show you guys something, all right? Just wait a second. I want to show you, but I'm not sure if it's going to show, all right? Maybe you can see that, but that's not what I want to show. Do you guys see this with the coaches? Do you guys see that? The picture?
No.
Yeah, I see it.
You see it with the coaches? No, but not the email, not that one.
I didn't see the email.
Oh, you just see the email? Okay, yeah, there must be a problem there. I'll show that later then. Because I'm trying to show you guys the image of a little thumbnail picture, but it's all good. I'll get to it in a little bit. I'll get to it. No big deal. All right. So we're going to talk about coaches, man. Coaches then and now. First and foremost, let's talk about coaches then and now. Generally speaking, and then we'll get into specific questions. All right. So first, we're just going to talk generalities. Coaches then and now, depending on the brothers here, you know, the panel. If you guys want to get the specifics, go ahead. You know what I'm saying? Always an open platform. So how do coaches differ from historical boxing and boxing now? I mean, obviously that's a lot on the plate, you know, but, you know, it's a free, you know, open discussion here. So, you know, talk about whatever you want to talk about concerning that. I'm going to repeat it. Coaches then and now, how do coaches differ from historical boxing and boxing now? Okay, so let's start out with Stormy B. How do you see that? Coaches then and now, how do they differ from historical and modern day boxing?
Well, that's kind of general and broad, Renee. Can you be a little bit more specific?
Like as far as how they train fighters, do they train them the same from then and now? Is it a general similar approach? Is it a similar approach the way that trainers train their fighters before and now?
No, a lot of the old school methods are dying off with a lot of the veteran coaches who had been respected for so many years. Some of their protege have adopted the ideal of taking a little bit of their philosophies and trying to tweak them and turn them into a modern way of thinking of something or whatever. It's just like, for an example, in the old days, coaches didn't necessarily think that fighters needed to lift weights because bulking up their extremities would slow them down, make them tight, and not as loose and fluid. But for a long time, you know, younger people with a different approach and ideal toward it would try to still incorporate it to some degree or whatever. Now, a lot of those old coaches that felt that way, they're no longer around. That's one example, you know, being different from then and now.
Yeah.
However, when you look at the older philosophies, because they were textbook and became rule of thumb, when people lived by that, they usually did very well. Now, there's nothing wrong with incorporating something modern in with what has been, because you cannot reinvent the wheel. Once the wheel was invented, that was it. Now you could make rubber wheels, plastic wheels, you know, PVC wheels. But the thing about it is the wheel was invented once. You can only kind of add to it or something like that. You can't do away with it. And that's the same principle when it comes down to boxing. When you have someone who is really diverse in teaching this sport and how a participant can develop under their guidelines, usually they have formulas that will work tried and true. Now you can always add to, you know, like when you're doing exercises, you can add to your exercises to work out a particular section of your body or whatever. But the whole point of it is to exercise, period. So the thing about it is to be able to add to something without throwing something else away. We see that a lot in the sport today, where they have thrown out a lot of tried and true principles, and guys have suffered as a result of that. And so therefore, some of the fighters' approach to the sport, how they carry themselves, how they actually go out and fight or whatever, sometimes the fighters think that they know better than the trainers. And if the fighter knows better than the trainer, maybe he needs a trainer that knows better than he, you see? So, and don't forget, you see nowadays guys dropping trainers and jumping camps, you know, like you take taxis. So it's like, it's obvious that there is something really, really missing, and they haven't put the thumb on it because they haven't pointed the finger at themselves. So this is what you have in the sport currently, and it won't get better. They won't get beyond that until they start looking in the mirror and realizing the points that I've pointed out here. That's what I got for you.
Hey, Stormy, quick question. On something that you said right now that, you know, this is a question because I don't really know. Did fighters back in the day, you know, in historical fighting, boxing, did they switch a lot? Or, you know, did they switch? Were they prone to switching trainers as we see today? Just like what you said, because today we see constantly that, I mean, fighters switch their trainers. Was that a common practice before?
Not really. Usually they switch trainers. Striking happened, or there was a death, or something like that. You make a change based on that. But usually you'll even work with a trainer who still shared the philosophy of how to get the most out of the talent that you had. But, you know, it wasn't just hopping camps because, oh, I don't like this guy because he talked to me a certain way or something like that.
Okay. Wow. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, let's jump to Kurtis and we'll go to Reggie. So what's generally you can say, Kurtis, about that? Like with you know, coaches then and now, their approach to certain fighters. How do you see it? How does it distinguish to fighters nowadays, the way that trainers approach or the way they train fighters nowadays?
Well, back in the days of yesteryear, trainers like Harry Wiley Sr., he's my favorite trainer, and Jack Blackburn, and you know, Ray Arcel, and you know, Nacho Baristan, and you know, those guys are what we call professors. Harry Wiley Sr., you know, this is mind-boggling. Taught Sugar Ray Robinson everything he knows. He trained Joe Louis, Henry Armstrong, and Muhammad Ali. That's unbelievable. You know, the
Wow.
fighters. Angelo Dundee was more like a cheerleader. It was Harry Wiley Sr. who taught Muhammad Ali everything, but he died after the Buster Mathis Sr. fight, and because Angelo Dundee left Ali because he was the manager and trainer of Jimmy Ellis, you know, and so Harry Wiley Sr. got with Muhammad Ali, and then he trained him for the Buster Mathis Sr. fight. and he died 3 weeks after that. So they respected Angelo Dundee, but he wasn't really an X's and O's guys like the other trainers. You know, the biggest difference was the old trainers didn't take no BS. They didn't allow the fighters to talk back. If they did, the trainer left them. They it was tough love. You know, it was a more of a father-son relationship. You know, old trainers were tough on their fighters. You know, and the new school trainers, they just not that tough on them. I remember when Adrian Broner was getting, you know, pummeled by Marcos Madonna, and he basically was telling his trainer, who was Mike Stafford, shut the hell up. That would have never happened in the old days. The trainer would have walked out, left him right there in the fight, middle of the fight. You know, there was a respect, like a great uncle fatherly respect that the fighter had for his trainer. You know, I last saw that, you know, certain guys and trainers work well together. Nacho Barristan and Manuel Marquez, you know, James Toney and Bill Pops Miller. You know, it was an infectious type of relationship. Early on, it was that Bernard Hopkins and Boy Fischer, but sadly, Bernard Hopkins got rid of him, and he had to take Bernard Hopkins to court 2 times because of money. You know, and I didn't like Bernard for that. That was a sucker move. He should have been indebted to Boy Fischer. Boy Fischer was an old school trainer who was given a scarf by Sugar Ray Robinson. You know, they was that close. So Boy Fischer was a professional. He's the one that architect Bernard Hopkins then defeating Tito Trinidad and Oscar De La Hoya. When you knock Trinidad and De La Hoya out, you're a great fighter. You know, but the old trainers was much better. I mean, you still have Nacho around. I think Kenny Porter is underrated. You know, I listened to him. I listened to trainers very intently. You know, you have Buddy McGirt because he was a fighter. So he knows he was a fighter. You know, he's a good trainer, but you don't have many trainers that are like really good. Like Derrick James and Bo Mack, they okay. They you know, I mean, I'm not crazy about them. They okay. Robert Garcia is good because he was a fighter, so he knows. You know, it takes on it's different when you have a trainer that was a fighter because he knows what to look for. He's been in the ring before, you know, and the new school trainers not that good, you know. Like I said, Buddy McGirt is good, Robert Garcia, but you don't have that guy outside of Nacho Barristan that's really good. I thought Dan Birmingham was good when he had Winky Wright, you know. But it's the out of the ring relationship. It's that father and son relationship. The old fighters, you know, show tough love, you know, and the fighters respected it. They, you know, they've gotten a lot of respect from fighters. And Lomachenko father is a good trainer, you know. So, you know, that's the way I see it. You know, it makes a world of a difference in a fighter. You know, you could be great to one guy and not be so great to all the other fighters because it's just that chemistry. Case in point, Kevin Rooney and Mike Tyson. Look at Mike Tyson after Kevin Rooney. He was finished. You know, he was finished, you know. But when he had Mike Tyson, he had him like a well-oiled machine. And people forget it was Kevin Rooney who got Mike Tyson out of trouble when Tyson got off to a rough start against Tony Tucker. He lost the first 3 or 4 rounds. He even got hurt with an uppercut. He knocked Mike back across the ring when you go look at that fight. But he told Mike what to do. You know, Mike respected him until Don King came along, and the rest we say is history. But the old school trainers, they were like professors, man. Ray Arcel, great Jewish trainer. You know, Jack Blackburn had Joe Louis along with Harry Wiley Sr. And you see how great those guys was because they maximized their talents because of old school training. I'm talking about leaving a piece of paper in the middle of the ring and you put your toe on the edge of the paper. both fighters, and you couldn't move. You had to, fight on the inside. That's why James Toney is considered an old school fighter. Who he could fight on the inside. So that's, to me, that's one of the biggest differences between an old school trainer and a new school trainer.
Wow. Yeah, there's several things that I'm thinking about with that. Quick question with Mike Tyson's trainer, wasn't it D'Amato? You there, Kurtis?
Oh, I'm sorry, damn, I was on mute.
Oh,
Yeah, he
sorry.
was an old school trainer, Customato. He had Floyd Patterson, who was champion at 21, and Mike Tyson, who was champion at 20. So he knew what he was doing. He predicted Mike Tyson will beat Larry Holmes, and he predicted that Mike will be champion before he passed.
Right. Quick question, Kurtis, concerning that stuck to my mind right now a lot. Coaches back in the day, there were more like professors. But to like what extent, that's like a question I got from what you were saying there. Like, to what extent were coaches professors to trainers? Like, in what exactly? Obviously, we do know like the technique, right, and how to fight and stuff like that. But were they like professors in like other aspects of a fighter's life, or was it just mainly boxing?
I would say in and out the ring, they were like professors, because when I boxed in the mid 80s, and I just used to go to the park, Eastside Park in Paterson, New Jersey, I used to see these old guys feeding the pigeons. And I used to wear a lot of boxing t-shirts. And they asked me, what do I know about Henry Armstrong, Youngin? And, and I say a lot. And I used to sit down and learn. That's why I know so much about the history of the sport, because my father, my uncles, and the average men in them days, if they was interested in boxing, they didn't know a little bit, they know a lot. It could be an old guy, in his 70s and 80s, sitting on a bench, and he would tell stories about old fighters. And it could be a Jewish guy, and he'll be like, yeah, I remember Benny Leonard, and we used to go to the jazz clubs and all that. And you would sit there mesmerized. And I was soaking all the knowledge, and one of them said to me, maybe one day you will be in my shoes. And I said, yeah, I will be, telling a story about fighters and, jazz artists and fighters, how they used to go to the club wearing the black and white shoes and the pinstripe suits, and the fedora hats, stories about Joe Louis, so it's, I embody that old school spirit. It's in my heart. It runs through my blood, so that when somebody young want to learn, I tell them stories, what I went through. And that's how you keep it going. But a lot of old school guys are dying out, like Art Rush Jr. He knew more boxing than anybody. He had a show in New York that I used to call in. And Burt Sugar, who I was affectionately named after, Bill Gallo was a boxing cartoonist, and Jerry Eisenberg was a boxing, oh man, he was just a boxing nut. He's a writing for the Star Ledger paper in New Jersey. When you hear these guys, you're going to get taught from everything from soup to nuts. Most of them are dead. Hank Kaplan, I think Jerry Eisenberg is still alive. He got to be around 90. But those guys are dead and gone. So it's up to the guys, that's carried a mantle, like Stormy and Scrapbook Boxing, myself, and Blood Boxing. We, have that old school spirit. We understand how boxing used to be. I love boxing, today's boxing, sometimes, but it's the old school spirit I embody.
Amazing stuff. Let's go to Reggie. We're going to carry on what Kurtis, some important points that he's talking about here with Reggie. Quick questions like, for example, Reggie, like we're, as far as like modern day boxing, do you think, do you see or have you perceived coaches in this day and age, coaches having tough love towards their fighters? And do you think that it would be, because you think there are fighters that are kind of sensitive when it comes to having a tough coach, or do we see tough love with coaches nowadays? Do you think so?
Nope, it's just like what Kurt said with AB. He telling the coach to shut the hell up and shit like that. Fighters who leave trainers because they show tough love. We live in a society where a lot of men carry on female traits, very emotional in the way they react to things, the way they react to criticisms, the way they react to instructions. They fly off the edge. They don't know how to handle it. And it's all part of how they were brought up. We live in a world and it started happening around the era when I was coming up, where you're dealing with the parents who don't talk to my baby like that. My baby ain't do this, rather than holding accountability, letting these kids understand of what it meant to have corrective actions. These kids come from environments and live lives to where they've been taught that they do no wrong and no one should correct them. And then that's when you get responses like that, when the coach is being tough on them, because you have to be tough on these folks, because in battle, you never know what the circumstances may be. And there is no giving up. There is no mercy in battle. And you have to be tough. So coming in here with weekend approaches to shit, it was showing that ring, and it turns out bad. But I think a lot of these dudes just aren't open to instructions. They think they know it. They know everything, and it's all based on how I was saying how societal changes started to shift. It started to shift away from people letting teachers teach. Now you have people telling teachers what they want to learn, and I think that's just so ass backwards, and it affects a lot of things. I used to always hear the older G's be hypercritical of today's boxing. I'm like, damn. And I always look at it as like, maybe that's just a sign of getting old. Like, you don't like what's new or what's young. And as time goes, it makes things more clear. And I see exactly what the hell they're talking about, because I've seen it coming up through school while I was still in school age, about how bullshit a lot of people were and emotional, where they wouldn't accept certain teachings, and teachers who were very tough on them. And I see what the end result has turned out by people who wouldn't take the tough teachings and tough love. They fuck themselves down the line. And the same thing happened in boxing. I hear a lot of boxing trainers and ex-fighters who speak about that. The art of teaching is fading away, especially with all the older guys dying away. And right behind them, you didn't have coaches who sat up under their wings to learn their lessons. You have a lot of guys just learning off the fly, because no one sits down with the elder to pick their brain and pick up and learn things. And I don't think it's happening right now, like in a lot of gyms where you see people kind of trailing behind current trainers and picking up on game. And then you have a lot of people where they lose out on the history. It's a lot of fighters. You can throw out trivial type questions. They don't know shit about it. They don't know shit about none of this stuff. And it bugs me, like when I hear fighters who make statements like they don't watch boxing, and they're active in the sport. And that shit is like one of the most delusional and lost things I ever hear come out the mouths of people. You even hear with artists, because I always have this translations between boxing and music, is where you hear artists who say they don't write their music as if that's just a special gift, like they can just go in there and lay down a track. They don't pay attention to what else is coming out within the industry. So it's like that's where you begin to lose within the art, and then you lose where you got fans who don't pay attention to the arts, and you get to where other races and cultures begin to pick up on certain arts, and it becomes there because they value it. They curate the art, and boxing isn't being curated by the people who are in it, because I don't know. I think they think it's all about them, and it's in the long run, they fail themselves and they hurt themselves. But like I said about these folks who come from other countries, they have teachers over there. Those kids who come from other countries can't do what people over here do with coaches and with teachers. You're going to sit your ass down, you're going to learn, and you're going to pick up on it. And you see a lot of hard work that comes up out of these kids. And also there's a resilience and a pride that comes out of those people in these other countries. But I think that has to be picked up here in this country. We have a very weak amateur program, so young kids aren't being groomed properly within these young systems. So it's kind of hard, man. But you see it at all levels, man. I see it. But I agree with everybody, man. The past errors were much greater errors because coaches were coaches. They were tough. You ever spoke to a coach out of terms like that? Like Kurt said, they may walk out the ring, leave your ass in there by yourself. May end up smacking you, but it's just too many emotional ass people, man.
Wow, man. I mean, we're continuing this point of what Curtis talked about of coaches being professors. Okay, I want to go to Stormy B man because it's something really important that he said. This was a while ago in one of his shows, and I want to bring this out definitely. Okay, but first I want to get to those who are jumping in the building. We have an interesting amount. I mean, just people are coming in, man. Thanks so much. So many people commenting. Keep commenting, family, because I'm going to get the comments in a moment. Thank you so much for joining. Just want to make a little pause real quick. Remember to subscribe to this channel, Renee Box Young. Subscribe, like, share, where we talk about historical boxing here in our series, Boxing Then and Now. This is part 6. We're talking about coaches. Stormy B-Man, go subscribe to him. Go subscribe to Reggie Owens, Boxing Conversation with Reggie Owens. Kurtis also is with this Stormy B. He has a show with him. Also, 3 Wise Men of Boxing. I mean, great stuff, you guys. There are gems up in here. So go and subscribe. Go support each other. I see you in the building. Black Star Sports TV. Thanks so much. PGH, Big Hog. Thank you so much for joining. And people are just jumping up in here. I thank you guys so much. And let's get to Stormy, because this is something, this all intertwines, and this rooted from Kurtis talking about coaches being professors, and then Reggie Owens expounding more on, and this goes on different levels, exactly what Reggie's saying. This goes out, this is in all levels. It is seen how students of any profession, we're talking about coaches here, though, in the sport of boxing, students of the game, they don't want to be students. They don't want to listen. They don't want to, get down under the umbrella of discipline of their professor and teachers or teachers, coaches, to teach them the right way, the correct way, the disciplined way, so that they can go far, because that's the purpose. Okay, so I remember some time ago, Stormy B-Man was talking about, I don't remember what show it was, but he was talking about, expounding upon the point of concerning the point of parenting and having, that nowadays it seems like, young kids don't want to, and we see it everywhere in all levels, with fighters. And I don't want to get in all over the place, but Stormy B also, he has that series of Asian films. Interesting stuff, man. Very interesting stuff. And this just came to my mind while Reggie was explaining all this. And I remember Stormy B also mentioning that in some shows ago here on the series, that boxing is a martial art. Okay, it's a martial art, and we know, like this is. I'm just gonna give an example from movies. Okay, Karate Kid, right? Bloodsport, right? Jean-Claude Van Damme. I don't remember what his character name was in Bloodsport. I forgot, man. But he had the Asian teacher, disciplined guy, strict man, quiet, strong, solid teacher. And he was like a professor to Jean-Claude Van Damme in Bloodsport. Mr. Miyagi, I think his name was, right? With Karate Kid. I forgot what the heck Karate Kid's name was. But, and that movie. But also strong, strong, quiet, disciplined, super disciplined trainer, teacher, strict, tough love. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because boxing is also martial arts. So Stormy B, do you think that one of the reasons why we see fighters that are, they don't like that tough love from trainers, and that's probably why they're switching so much, they get offended and what have you. Do you think one of the reasons why is because, I'm throwing this out there, I just want to hear from you,
Renee, get to the question, bro.
I know. Sorry. Do you think it's because there are many people being raised without a father? That's kind of what I want to get at there. Do you think that's why there are so many fighters that are sensitive?
Yes. Absolutely. A man cannot become what he cannot see. In other words, a boy, in the instance of being raised with no father, cannot become a man if he has no first impression of what a man is. And that should be from the point of nurturing, not from external. Because if you look for external to be the model for what you view as a man or whatever, it could be misconstrued, because you're getting it not from an intimate example, you're getting it from an external, because you're getting it from whatever is projected. And remember, what's being projected may not always be true. So from a point of nurturing within, you're living under that auspice. What happens is you begin to learn what virtues, values, ethics are, okay, and how they are applicable to your day-to-day life circumstances and life experiences as you grow. So a dad can teach you and show you, son, always look a man in the eye. When you shake a man's hand, you shake a man's hand firmly.
Right,
When
right.
you speak to a man, you speak with a firmness, and don't be wavering or whatever. All of this, it comes from being taught. Okay. And you can only be taught these things close in, intimately, where you have that relationship, and it is formed from an early point where you become confident, and also you become the word I'm looking for, you desire to learn more. It's like as you begin to see these things and you can begin to put them into effect, you see the positive progression behind it, and you say, oh, my dad showed me this, my dad taught me this, my uncle taught me this, my granddad taught me that, those things from close by, and you gain confidence in that. However, when that is devoid of your experience growing, everything else is substandard and superficial because it is not from that natural source that it should be. In other words, if it's just a mom raising, she can only do so much to be the influence, but she can't be a man for you to show you how to become a man. Okay, if it's your grandma, same thing. If there are uncles or brother-in-laws or something like that that could be around to assist, it can be a positive thing if they want it to be active like that. But that's not always the case. So what you're seeing is absolutely there are a lot of men that are devoid of that type of structure and introduced to that could put them on track towards being better men and men themselves as a whole. So yes, that is absolutely one of the problems, which is also why back in the day, a lot of the trainers used to take it on as a father figure in these men's lives when they worked with them. Okay. And they would teach them value. They would teach them ethic. They would present them with how to be a gentleman, because the thing is when you give them these gifts, it can assist toward keeping them out of the hands of the law, out of the graveyard. Now, everyone doesn't adopt the principles, of course, but you can't say that they weren't there when you had a coach or trainer who was doing their best to provide that. So it's something to definitely take root and take control of and take understanding of. But again, we do have to deal with the personalities of the individuals at hand. And when they decide against better counsel, they can run into problems in life. So also those trainers would set those examples and say, like, now you see Joe over there, you see how he ended up, and now he's doing 15 years to life. You understand? And it's like, oh yeah, you don't want to go down that path, you see. But if you like today, what they say, oh, let a young brother shine, huh? And he shined right until he get the police flashlights shined in his eyes, and next thing you know, he's locked up, huh? See, it happens. But it comes at a price. The price of sacrifice for the man who wants to be there, and a sacrifice for the apprentice who wants to be open and receptive.
Wow. I mean, and that's why I brought up the movies, because it seemed like those trainers, those teachers were like father figures. Real quick before we get to, I want to get to Reggie in a moment, but real quick, Kurtis, How do you see the impact of, because remember this brings me up, like I researched just recently, Mike Tyson's trainer, D'Amato, right, his coach. What impact did he have? How do you see the impact that D'Amato had on Mike Tyson, and not just in fighting but in his life in general? Do you see he was like a definite father figure for Mike Tyson?
Oh, without a doubt. Every time Tyson gives an interview and somebody brings up Customato, he has to restrain himself from crying. He can't help it because not only as a fighter, Mike Tyson achieved fame and fortune, but Customato kept him out of trouble. Tyson, every time he got in trouble, he was in Brooklyn. But when he would get out of trouble, Cuss tried to keep him in Catskills. Now Mike still was doing dirt, but without Customato, he would have been in jail or even dead. He loved Cuss. Cuss fed him. He lived at Cuss's house. Cuss' wife was like Mike Tyson's mother. Things started to unravel when Mike lost Customato and Jim Jacobs. Jim Jacobs was like his manager. And Don King swooped in and he met Robert Givens, and the rest is history. So it was really two people that Mike Tyson lost that was father figures, but Customato was very instrumental because he believed in Mike. Mike didn't even believe in himself, but he believed in Mike, and he was father first, then trainer, so he was very instrumental in Mike Tyson's life. That's why Mike Tyson, he wants to cry on camera, but he stops himself, when somebody brings up Customato.
Wow, man. Wow. This stuff gets deep. You see what I'm saying? So it's just not, historically speaking, this is why I want to talk about this in this series, because, when you talk about coaches, it goes way deeper than just a guy teaching a fighter how to fight. You know what I'm saying? Give them skills, tricks of the trade, of the craft. It's not just about, historically speaking, it goes way deeper, and that's why I want to make the comparison of coaches then and now, because it seems like the coaches back then, and we do see it now. I mean, as far as this, with like fatherly figures, because we obviously have, fathers who are coaches right now with several fighters, right? But, we see such an impact, and that's that's where I want to get to Reggie right now. Hey, Reggie, how do you see, to what extent are coaches an impact towards their fighters? To what extent and how much of an impact do you see coaches are towards fighters nowadays?
It depends on the coach and it depends on the fighter. You got to have these coaches who have zero tolerance for bullshit, but still show love, the real tough love type coaches. And then it's how much influence a coach can have. Because like was stated, you have so many kids who live where inside their homes. It's one thing, especially like Stormy was saying, with external so-called father figures. That's why you have to have a father in the home, a righteous father, not just a father who's there just because there's a roof over the head or so he can lay on top of moms and shit, but someone that's really dedicated to the child. But when you're dealing with the external figures, you can be one of the greatest mentors. But if this kid is coming from a broken home, how long does your teachings manifest within this kid? And he goes back into a home that is constantly breaking him down, that's constantly fueling him with the negativity. The environment is negative, but you only get so many moments with them. And I see that happens a lot. It's just environment is everything. Environment is everything, and what is allowed and what is not. And in a lot of very poor conditions where a lot of fighters come from, they deal with parents that are bad. Now, you can look in the case for many success stories. You look at the Iverson case, you can look at the damn LeBron case. And here you have where they come from single parent homes. Both of them deal with very wild, promiscuous ass mothers who from what people's accounts of them didn't do too much of keeping these kids around. Now, the one thing that helped keep these kids grounded was the male guidance they had around them, and also the environments that they were brought in. It's in LeBron's case. Iverson's not so much because he has 1 foot in, 1 foot out, but he always had people who kind of, these father figures who've seen the best in this kid. And you deal with that a lot in life, man. Sometimes your greatest influence ain't always going to come from people of your blood. And when people see the best in you, they want the best in you, they do for you. You see a lot of situations where you see cops that do shit for kids who they can see the best in, but these kids are just constantly falling prey to their environment and shit. But a coach is everything as long as this coach has the ability to influence. And some of these coaches who just are fucking, what's the word for somebody who doesn't give up? Just constantly, probably, I can't think of that word, but when you deal with someone who's just doesn't give up on you and is constantly working with you because they see what can happen, and bam, at some point the light goes off in these kids' head and they begin to take on these lessons and start listening. But
that's called persistent, Reggie.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Right,
That's
right.
what I'm talking about. Yeah, when you deal with these persistent type coaches who just don't give up on a kid, and that works in the situation for the LeBron and Iverson that I was talking about. But it's just sad and unfortunate that for kids to have to call someone outside their home their father figures. But that's what all kids seek for. All kids seek a male influence. When you look at cats who turn to the other way. I don't care if it's a suburban kid who goes shooting up schools. There's a detachment of fatherhood in that home, and what leads these kids to doing that shit. Because like I say, a woman can't raise a goddamn man. I don't care what some women can come off tough and come off strict, but there's a part missing, man. That nucleus has to be bonded between two parents, even if the parents are separated. If there's great co-parenting involved, that kid can go the right way because there's love in that kid. I don't care, even the most hateful people act hateful, they behave that way because they're lacking love. But I think it just depends on all these different set of circumstances, environment, the relationship between the two, and how well does this kid respond to tough love. And at some point, some people resist, especially if they come from a household that doesn't discipline or hold them accountable to shit. But that persistence sometimes get through. Some coaches just ain't gonna spend the time. They're just gonna give up. They got too much going on. So, but that's all I got on that one.
Awesome, man. Awesome stuff. Let's get to Stormy here. And I kind of want to touch upon this question with Stormy. You probably answered it before, but I don't remember. I don't recall with all this information that's coming out. How much impact, but I'm going to translate it to the past tense. How much impact, Stormy, did you see, as far as historical fighting? How much impact did coaches have towards a fighter? Was it everything, you know what I'm saying? Was it everything a fighter was, as far as coaches, the impact they gave towards their fighters? Yeah, Stormy?
I'm sorry. What's the question? I was moving around a little bit. Sorry about that.
It's all good. No, it's just a quick question. As far as I'm going to translate it, because originally I put it in the email with the bullet points. How much impact does a coach have towards a fighter? But I want to change it to the past because you're very, very knowledgeable in the past, with the historical fight and also. So how much impact did a coach or coaches have towards their fighters in historical boxing? Was it everything a fighter was? You know what I mean? Or was it like partial impact towards fighters back in the day?
Usually fighters would adopt the persona of their coach over a period of time, depending upon how much time a coach worked with him. The film Hands of Stone depicts it's like a semi-bio on Roberto Duran and his relationship with Ray Arcel. And you got Robert De Niro playing Ray Arcel in the film. Duran, who grew up in poverty and everything in Panama, but it's like when he, the things that he saw as a child and everything kind of hardened him. And it was very difficult for him to let people in. He was a man before he was a man. Even as a child, he was a man-child because of circumstances that he grew up under. But Arcel, when he recognized him as a fighter, no longer working with fighters anymore, and he had some problems with some underworld people and things like that, but work with him. And that's just kind of an example, because the old school coaches would look for something within that potential protege and would make them want to work with them. And therefore, even if they knew that it would be hard to get through to that protege, that's part of that journey. And to break through with them and have them begin to have confidence in you, it's almost like an old Chinese proverb that says that when you give someone your heart, that you can get the world out of them in return. And it's something that happens with a lot of the old school trainers working with their fighters. Joe Frazier, he had it, Yank Durham, and then later Eddie Futch and those guys working with him. There was so much that they were able to get out of him, particularly Yank Durham, when Joe was a man that had come up hard himself, and he won in the Olympics and everything. But when you talk about being a professional fighter and having all those people who had a piece of him as far as, a stock in his career and everything, you needed something to balance that on the other side. And he had good, strong people that managed and trained him like that. And it made a difference in Joe as a man. And Joe was definitely a man. Going back to Joe Louis and Jack Blackburn, same thing. Joe Louis was a guy that, let's put it like this, if the fighters could live forever being fighters, they'd be all right. It's just returning to a sense of a normal, everyday civilian life that becomes difficult for them, because they spend so much of their time being developed to be warriors and killers and things of that nature. That doesn't die in you. What happens is your skills and your body erodes over time, but not even your mind. So you die a fighter, and imagine dying a fighter that can no longer do what he used to physically be capable of doing. And when those trainers have worked with these men and given them those things, that's what made them who they were and how they were able to maintain. But nobody thinks about that aspect of how even the best of them can help you be a man, you see. And those who did benefit from that usually turned out okay at the end as well. That's what I have to offer on that.
Wow, man. I love this stuff. Everybody taking their notes. Definitely, man. Those who are in the, tuning in, those who are in the commenting, take them notes, man. Definitely. Let's get to the chat real quick. And I want to get to Kurtis with the next bullet point. And man, this is amazing stuff. I love it. MMA Champ says here, I think now a lot of coaches try to show their fighters the shoulder roll too often, especially with younger fighters. It doesn't work out well most of the time. Look at Rowley. Yeah, man. I feel you, bro. I feel you. We got here Black Star Sports TV. Salute, bro. Salute, fam. You was right about Dylan White. That clip going on. Oh, okay. CJ says here, Derek James has a very old school style pertaining to training. He sticks to the fundamentals, all right, and slightly branches off from that. Errol has a very fundamental style. Oh, yeah, definitely, man. That's awesome. Awesome stuff right there, man. Family saluting each other. Yeah, Derek James is the truth. Yeah, man, that's awesome. D. Hodges says, thanks, bro. But I never got go against the black man. But my wish came true. Facts. Okay. So let's CJ continues to talk about Derek James. Derek James is slowly turning Jermall Charlo into a fundamental fighter with great power. Wow. He's a very throwback trainer. Awesome, man. Awesome stuff. Salute to Derek James. Definitely, man. I think coaches teach their fighters to be more defensive than back in the day. Ooh. Kurtis, what do you think about that? What MMA Champ says here. Do you think that coaches teach their fighters to be more defensive? Because we also seen that in other series back in the other series we talked about. Seems like fighters back in the day used to be more offensive. What do you think about that, Kurt?
Oh, he's right. Absolutely, man. You had fighters back in the day, what they can do better than today's fighters. They could transition from offense the defense. What you see Terrence Crawford doing, that was the norm, and Terrence still gets hit because he wants to go to war. But, they could transition from offense to defense like Ezra Charles, Jersey Joe Walcott, or Charlie Burley. And people who don't know Charlie Burley, put it like this: he was James Toney, Pernell Whitaker, and Roy Jones wrapped up all into one. That's how great of a fighter he was. Eddie Futch said it, and Archie Moore said it. He defeated Archie Moore twice, and I got Archie Moore number 6 in my top 10 of all time. So that's how great of a fighter he was. If you look at the clips, you can see him, slipping punches against the ropes. Fighters just don't do that today. It's funny how music and boxing go together. In the 70s with Ali and Frazier, you had the funk era. You had great bands. And the 80s, you had R&B music that was hot, and hip hop, and plus you had disco in there in the late 70s. It just seems like music and boxing has a strange relationships. In the 40s and the 50s, you had the Cab Callaways and the Louis Armstrongs, you had the jazz, and, with John Coltrane, and you had great fighters, when Sanchez fought Gomez, you had dueling music, you had mariachi versus salsa. I would never forget that ring entrance, man. It was just great, but, fighters defensively, they was responsible. If they got knocked out, they just got knocked out by a guy who threw the right punch at the right time. It's easy to hit many fighters today, than yesterday. You had Willie Pep, Nicolino Lecce, great Argentinian fighter. They had great footwork. Of course, Ali and Willie Pastrana. And going back to the 20s, you had Gene Tunney, who, had great footwork. Even though he got knocked out by Joe Louis, Billy Conn was a very scientific fighter. He had fast hands and fast feet. Kind of mind you of Caleb Plant. But the fighters, they was more dedicated. They was taught better. They ate better. The food. So they had a lot of advantages. People can say, well, the athletes are bigger and stronger today. That may be true, but they don't have those fighters' heart. They don't. They will get you at any point. If you don't get them, they get you. That's all I can say. Look at Joe Louis, the way he used to stalk people like a quiet assassin, and he threw beautiful short punches. He wasn't the hardest puncher, but technically the way he delivered his punch, by using his waist and his shoulders and shifting his weight, he was probably the best at doing that. Ring Magazine had him number 1, the greatest punches of all time in the last 80 years. Shavers and Foreman just had raw power, but Sugar Ray Robinson was a slug in a boxer's body. He wanted to inflict damage. You had Tony Zales, the Man of Steel, and you had Marcel Cerdan. He was all fighters, man, that watching a brawl like Castillo Corrales, that was on the norm. That was normal. So, these fighters can be better today, but I just don't think they got that intestinal fortitude of fighters of yesterday.
Wow. Awesome answer to that, concerning MMA champs commentary. Thanks so much, man. Good stuff right there. And let's continue just a little bit in the chat. We're going to go jump off to Reggie Owens with another bullet point we have here. Bunch of comments here, man. Definitely. We have here, let me go down here. Bottom of Cali, salute. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much, Bottom of Cali, man. We are one community. Definitely. Thanks so much. We have here D Hodges saying something interesting of what we're talking about here, that if you do what I say, then you cannot be my trainer. Exactly. That's my test. Very good. If I was a boxer. Exactly. So, just like what we're saying, man, sometimes nowadays it seems like fighters, not all of them, right? But, we see that time and time again nowadays, where like what we're talking about with Adrian Broner, telling off his own coach in the corner, telling you, hey, shut the bleep up, you be quiet, and, you do what I say, in other words, right? So if you do what I say, then you cannot be Man. So we have here a phenomenal Mexican, Nacho, the Mayweather brother. Robert Garcia and Virgil Hunter are my favorite trainers. Awesome, man. Definitely awesome. Cool stuff. Buddy McGirt is my favorite trainer. He did a tremendous job with Gaddy in terms of him taking less punishment. Wow. A soccer training club is always talking about this as far as what Kurtis Anderson. And I think from what I understand, yeah, definitely a soccer training club put this comment way before what we talked about right now. But interestingly, Kurtis Anderson just mentioned about, the food, right? The food and the diet that fighters had. And here kind of it's different here, but similar. In today's boxing, technology has tremendously helped fighters along with organic supplements. Interesting stuff. Okay. So we have here boxing fans. Sheesh. All right. Responded to one of those comments below earlier. Okay. Right here we have MMA champ continue. Oh, actually, let me go back to CJ. Now, you can tell that McGirt genuinely cares about his fighters. Good stuff right there, man. MMA champ says, when should really be trying to go in there and try to win the rest of the rounds? Right. And D-Hod just says, facts. Trainers now are too easy on their fighters. That's exactly do you see it like that? Do you see it, Stormy B? Do you see that trainers nowadays are going a little bit too easy on their fighters nowadays?
Well, of course, and it's a dual problem. They're going too easy because, one, they don't have the wherewithal to close off the boundaries of where they should, press down on a fighter and when they lift up, and also the lack of the knowledge isn't there. Okay, and when you don't have the knowledge, that will allow a fighter a loophole out of getting out of the disciplines of a trainer, because he recognizes that the trainer doesn't have that rope, that Mason-Dixon line that he can't cross, and so he crosses it whenever he gets ready. Kurt mentioned something very vital about the fight last night that Sean Porter was in with his opponent. In the first round, the opponent was doing some things tactically, boxing wise, that was going to put him in a very good position to be competitive with Porter. Now, Porter is not a straight out boxer, but he can box. But he's more of a inside out boxer puncher. He can, press guys and things like that. So, like Kurt mentioned, after that first round, his dad, Sean Porter's dad, was able to tell him, listen, we're going to have to change some things up here right away. And he said, you're going to have to rough this guy up. You're going to have to go in there and make him feel like he don't belong. And that's exactly what Porter did. And he put the opponent in a position, instead of worrying about boxing and outboxing Porter, he had to worry about protecting himself and trying to survive. Imagine that. He took the man's total game plan away from him within a couple of rounds. And the fight became Sean Porter's immediately. And from that point on, that's experience. That's a coach who knows what to tell his fighter, because they've been through circumstances before, and he's able to rely upon what his dad's able to tell him, not just because it's his dad, because as a coach, he has confidence in what his dad has been able to tell him. And he's seen those efforts come to fruition. As long as he shows the confidence that he can go out and do what's being asked of him, he can go out there, execute, and see the fruits of his labor. It was not on display any finer than it was last night. I thought at some point that the young man would quit, but he didn't. But he knew he wasn't going to win the fight. There's a difference between quitting and giving up, and then a guy knowing he can't win, but just looking to make sure at least he goes the distance. And that's what happened last night. That young man has a lot of strength, mental strength, for finishing that fight. But I think Sean Porter really took something away from him last night too, because he showed the tremendous separation between what he was as far as being world class and what that young man aspired to be. But a lot of it falls on Sean's dad, because he was able to give him what he needed to make him most successful. And what he gave him in that fight last night was instructions, is preparation for what he was able to do last night.
These are great. These are great, exhaustive explanations of
exactly
questions.
that's in with the fighter. What's that?
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, bro. I thought you finished. Yeah, continue. Go ahead.
No, I'm pretty much done. I was just saying, and that's how, a trainer being easy on his fighter, the fighter has loopholes. When a trainer is being tough and disciplined on this fighter, you get the results of what was like shown by Sean Porter last night.
Amazing. And I'm sorry I interrupted because I heard it kind of cut off. So and I thought it was done. So perfect stuff, man. I love how you guys give exhaustive answers to these points that we're talking about. I love it, man. We learned so much here. And let me get back to the chat real quick. We're gonna jump to Reggie right now in a moment. They are just there for their paycheck, sadly. It seems like it, right? Briscoe says, Kurt, Kurt, question for you, Kurt. You think Panama Lewis was a good trainer or a cheater or both?
Oh no, he wasn't a bad trainer, but what he did overshadows what he could have been. Taking the patent out of Louis Resto gloves when he fought that guy. What's his name, man? Collins, I believe. That was on the undercard of Duran and Moore, Davey Moore in '83, and giving Aaron Pryor. There's been many rumors about what was in a bottle to expand his lungs so he can get a second win. He was always shady, man. He didn't have to do that. He had to win at all costs or any cost for his fighters. He didn't have to do that. So I don't put him with the Emmanuel Stewarts and the Slim Jim Robinsons and guys like that, the Ray Arcells and Pops Miller and Bowie Fisher, because he cheated multiple times. Who knows how many times he cheated? He just got caught those couple of times, but he wasn't a bad trainer, but he did anything for his fighter to win.
Wow, sounds like a little bit of desperation there, huh? Doing anything for your fighter to win. I mean, there's a limit there, right? I mean, yeah, with the cheating stuff. Wow, man. This might be a little bit controversial. I want to go down to Reggie. I got a couple more bullet points to cover as far as what we're talking about with coaches, but this all intertwines, and I don't want to discard what the comments are saying because it's some interesting stuff. So, Reggie, what do you think about this next comment here? And also CJ agrees with it, but what do you think about it? Reggie, Wilder lead trainer JD is trash. I mean, I don't know. What do you think about that?
I hate to call people trash, but I don't think he's the best. I don't think he's the best suit for Wilder. They've had their level of success for all these years. They work well, but I think someone else should partner in with them. I don't think Wilder should get rid of the guy because they benefit in some way, but I think there needs to be a new development or a graduation into a newer coach. Keep the guy around. You don't want to make him feel rejected, but there definitely needs to be a difference in the type of trainer that's there, because there's times in where Wilder needs a trainer who's going to cuss him out inside of that in that corner in fights, because there's moments where I'm watching a Wilder fight and I'm cussing in the house. And I know if being a trainer in the corner, I'm cussing him out, because Wilder he has these attributes that are underlined, but they're not being brought out because they're allowing him to rely just on that singular punch, which is it's worked against the other, 44 opponents he was able to get in there and stop. But now you're in here with a difference of a different opponent, different style. And boxing is going to be what suits Wilder, and he has to put that into the gym. They're going to be needed to be more roll work, more heavy training, better sparring in there, not just sparring partners you're knocking out. Unless they're giving you good work and you're just catching them with that punch that not many people on this planet are going to be able to take. But there has to be new things implemented into the training program for Wilder. Wilder needs to go back to utilizing jab work. He has a solid jab. When Wilder throws that jab, that motherfucker's jab is crisp as shit. And that's something he needs to get back to. More of the fundamentals of boxing, better footwork, better placement, better stance, better balance in the game. And a new trainer who comes in there, that ain't in there just for the fame, but looking to really go in here and really break this guy down, building him back up. I think so, but JD's is just not the guy that's going to do it. Even looking at the damn last Fury fight, I hear no instructions in that shit. And then for them to sit there and allow the guy to take a beating, the fighter tell them what to do. Don't y'all stop this fighter. Nah, fuck all that. You ain't in control of this shit. It's the damn trainers. The same thing I say about like with Warriors. Some people say he's a warrior and he makes the call. No, Warriors on the field don't make a fucking single call. There's people who are the observers of combat. They lay out the plan. Those are the generals. And they give out the orders. They give out the plan because from afar, they're watching and seeing what's going on. And they have a different perspective, a better perspective of what's going on. And they know when to pull out of battle and when to go back into it. And a fighter can't call that shit. And to be mad at someone for throwing in the towel, it just shows. And that was what we've been talking about earlier in the fight, in this conversation, is that fighters are telling trainers what the hell to do. Should no fighter tell their trainer, don't throw in the damn towel or else? Fuck all that shit. I'm glad Mark Breland did that shit, but that's all I got.
Man, very true, very true. And actually, a comment is a little bit on what Reggie's talking about, but let me just get real quick with these. A lot of beta males. Yeah, what we're talking about exactly, man. This is the skinny jeans and man and man purse era. J.A. Dixon says something. What we're talking about here, like a lot of guys with talent don't get groomed exactly to work hard. They just get spoiled, and the focus is always on what they do well. Wow.
Look at that. Good point.
Yeah, go ahead. You want to expound on that, Kurt?
Nah, he hit it right on the head. Today's fighters I'm usually rough on, but they got talent. A lot of these guys can fight. The only guy that I see who lives like an old school fighter is Vasyl Lomachenko. That's why he's successful. And I said the other day, he even dresses like an old school fighter with the cardigan sweater and the apple hat. You notice when you look at his highlight, it's only him and his father. You don't see anybody else. But when you look at Tank Davis, he has the whole projects in his, dressing room. And I mean, you can't even move. And that's wrong. And it's preparation. Deontay Wilder, I blame him because he didn't prepare himself properly. You have to prepare yourself mentally for a big fight. Him and his wife, him hugged up on his wife and him leaning on her, his head on her shoulders. She shouldn't have been in the locker room. It just should have been him and his trainers going over the game plan. You can't make JD or Mark Breland a scapegoat. You have to put it on Wilder because he fell in love with his power. He has made himself one-dimensional. And when you have a fighter like Tyson Fury, who was his home was Kronk, he was smart because his trainer didn't do anything wrong after the first fight. He just said, I could fight better than this. And he said, I had to go back home to my roots. And he went to Kronk. And people forget very quickly, he used to live with Emmanuel Stewart. So he fought in the Kronk manner during the second fight. And he said he was going to do that. So the fight turned out like that because he did all the right things. He had a leg up on Wilder because his trainer was better than Wilder's trainer, and you have to put it on Wilder. You had a foreigner that came over from a foreign country that went to American boxing school and beat an American fighter. Wow. You can't write this, man. So, that was his fault. You have to cover all bases before you step in the ring, man. You have to cover all the bases. And, Fury said, hey, I could be better. I could be a better fighter. And that's what happened. So Wilder has to go back to the drawing board, and not become one-dimensional, relying on his right hand. He has to box, but I don't know if he could do that. Not like Fury. I don't know.
Wow, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. We're out here, CJ saying that's why a lot of fighters can't. Yeah, man. Can't have Teddy Atlas as a trainer. He's too abrasive for this dude. Oh man, yeah, Teddy, yeah, definitely. We have here CJ continuing here. We got here any man that's taking time away from his family to train a fighter to not get his head knocked off should be respected. Right. The least a fighter can do is be definitely be respectful, listen to the man, protect. Yeah, that's true. And there has to be that chemistry. You know, I don't remember who mentioned that. I don't know if it was Stormy, Reggie, talking about there has to be that chemistry. There has to be that, understanding between fighter and trainer, man. There has to be a definite, great chemistry between the two in order to be successful, when it comes in the ring. You know what I'm saying? Syndicate J saying thanks. Frank, I'm sorry, Frank, okay. So, yeah, definitely, man, CJ, you're right on right there, bro. And we got here Reggie saying, hell yeah, that's it. Too many boys being that's the thing. And that's why I asked that, earlier with Stormy, that it seems, that came. I remember when Reggie was talking about, a point earlier, and that came to my mind. It can be, and it looks like that's what it is, a predominant issue. A lot of boys being raised without fathers, and we got a lot of sensitive kids out there now because of that. You know what I mean? It really affects a fighter, and it really affects society in general. Being in a sensitive era, now we're in a very, PC generation, PC society. And I think a lot of that has to do with it. D. Hodges continues to say it's about the advice the trainer gives. If it ain't working, you got to go. Yeah, man, right on. And it's interesting. Here, Soccer Training Club throws out a text from the Bible, Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Wow, good stuff right there, man. Good stuff, and it applies with life, all things in life in general, and fighting. Definitely. DB is in the building. I don't know if I remember saluted Derek Bailey. Also, Derek Bailey's in the building, man. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you guys so much, man. CJ says, that's why I was peed off, right? When Wilder fired Mark Breland. Okay, he cared about you so much that he couldn't see you take any more punishment because Breland has been in that situation before as a fighter. Wow, man. Wow. So let's get to another point here, you guys. Let me get real quick to Jay Dixon before we get to that. A few of these father trainers act a fool too. Oh, man. Angel Garcia and that Robert Guerrero. Yeah. Angel, Robert Guerrero's dad. I mean, I think Kenny's way better, as far as, seriousness, as far as keeping his son in the zone, as far as when it comes to fighting, keeping him, tunnel vision, game plan. I think Kenny Porter's way better at that. Robert Guerrero, real quick about this. When he fought Robert Guerrero, Mayweather, if I'm not mistaken, Robert Guerrero's dad sometimes talks in Spanish, okay, to his son. And the things that he was telling him in the corner, go in and smack him up, go punch him in it. He wasn't even giving any technical advice, wasn't giving any specific strategy and game plan and how to fight Mayweather. He was just speaking out of emotion, anger, yelling at his son, go in there and smack him up, and it's like, come on, dude. I mean, you got to be better than that when you're coaching your kid. You know what I mean? Angel Garcia, well, yeah, so, yeah, I mean, we see that nowadays, man. CJ says here, this brother, oh yeah, I went to that earlier. Kurtis Anderson is a true boxing encyclopedia. Definitely, man. So, okay, let's get to this, all right? This is another question I got. Kurtis, do you think that, and then we'll go to Stormy. We're going to have the same question with everybody, all right? And then we'll go to the end of this episode today. Should coaches relationship towards fighters be only professional? What do you think about that, Kurtis? Should it just only be professional?
No, they should have a relationship out the ring as well. James Toney and Bill Miller, he called his coach Pops because he looked at him as a father figure. And we all know James Toney don't respect nothing or nobody, but he respected Bill Miller. He got his respect, and he affectionately called them Pops. Trainers and fighters, should have a father-son or brother relationship out of the ring, man, because in a weird way, it resonates in the ring. It's called chemistry. When you know the guy and you guys go bowling or shooting pool, you want a close relationship with your trainer. I'm going to tell you, this is weird. When Livingston Bramble fought Ray Boom Boom Mancini, before the first fight, right, there was some things said between Italians and Jamaicans. And this was telling. Then it got racial. I remember Livingston Bramble saying, just because Lou Duval was my trainer, that doesn't mean I have to like him. And I was like, whoa. Whoa,
Wow.
Corrego Mancini, of course, was Italian. Lou Duval was Italian. And Lou Duval used to tell racist jokes to everybody, Hispanics, blacks, Jews. You know, I used to go to his restaurant, so I know, but I thought that was really bad for Bramble. How can you say that about a trainer? You're supposed to look at your trainer like a father figure or a brotherly figure or a family figure. Emmanuel Stewart used to get on Floyd Mayweather's case because he always wanted to train Floyd Mayweather, but Floyd kept it in the family. He did that for a reason. He felt comfortable, albeit his father or his uncles, and he kept it in the family. And look how his career has turned out. Or Shane Mosley and his father, the first half of his career, it was working till Shane started losing the boxers. So you have to blame somebody. I never liked when Oscar De La Hoya, every time he lost, he changed trainers. It was Alcazar, it was Mayweather, it was this guy, it was that guy. You can't put it on the trainer. You use him as an scapegoat. But I feel that, the better relationship out the ring, the more success in the ring.
Good stuff. Anything you can add to that, Stormy?
Not really. Coach Kurt just really put it out there like it is. And that's pretty much it. I really can't add much to that. He said it as it should be said. I will just add simply this. If you're not going to, this is from a coach's perspective. If you're not going to be able to add more than the subject that brings you together, then you may want to consider doing something else. Because as a teacher may teach beyond the subject at hand. A great teacher will give you things that can go outside of the source of which you study. And that's something that's beneficial to anyone in life because you never stop learning from birth to death. So if a person only wants to engage from the perspective of business relations and you can't offer anything that can be beneficial outside of the subject at hand, like I said, you may want to consider doing something else. Because if I am going to open up to you as a protege of learning and taking instruction and direction, I would be most grateful if your instruction and direction can go outside of the boundaries of which our relationship may have brought us together. That's when you become a life coach. And that's when it becomes most beneficial. So I'm sorry. So that's how I see it.
Amazing stuff. Reg, anything you want to add to that?
No, the OGs answered it perfectly, man. OG wisdom. But I think most definitely this type of mentorship has to be beyond just the ring. It has to be inside out. There should be times where both student and teacher are engaging in lessons into what they have going on. They should be watching fights together, game planning, watching film together, and other things to study in the game in which they're in. And I think it goes beyond just being in the gym and stuff, but there's other lessons they should learn from each other. And also the ways of how a fighter should conduct themselves. And I think what a lot of fighters branch off where it's just a professional career is the moment you see where fighters kind of get sidetracked outside of the game, not maintaining things because they don't have a fight. They're not engaged. And that's due to the fact that they're not with their teacher. They're off with other people who have zero interest into the game of boxing. These outside influences that pulls them away, pulls them into the partying, other obsessions that leads to other type of abuses that take them away from the craft. And I agree with that. This relationship should be all around, and it should just go beyond just being in the gym and training and gearing up for fights.
And I think that's another term I can add to it as far as a coach, being a professor, being a teacher, also being a mentor, like Reggie just said a moment ago, mentorship. That's powerful, powerful stuff, and a lot of people sometimes misinterpret that a great coach, great teacher, great professor, what have you, only teaches about that specific subject that they profess. But it also, going beyond, above and beyond that specific thing that is being taught, subject that is being taught, but that relates to it and enhances what is being taught. Wow, that's amazing. And a lot of people have it narrow-minded. A lot of people think that, a great professor is one who just teaches only the subject. But when it goes beyond it and it interrelates to it, it interconnects to what's being taught. Wow, that's just amazing stuff right there, man. Interesting stuff. Soccer training, says here, boxing just like soccer. Okay, 4 pillars: technical, tactical, mental and physical development facts. And I think it goes with all sports too, definitely. J.A. Dixon says here, that's another, exactly what we're talking about right now. That's another great point, Stormy B, man. And it's good that you typed it down, J.A. Dixon. I was actually thinking about typing it down too. True teaching transcends the subject. Wow. Oh my gosh, this is good. And this is exactly why. I have on my, in my introductory and my trailer, the trailer of my channel, I have that. I explain that, you know what I mean, as an introduction to my channel, that, we learn many principles of life through the sport of boxing, man. It transcends and it goes beyond the sport of boxing, but it relates. We learn so much about life in general. I love it, man. So, Stormy B, man, any last words, and where can you be followed? Because we did have some new people in the building, man. I appreciate everybody in the community today. And where can they follow you, Stormy B?
They can follow me right here on YouTube, the Stormy B Man channel. That's where I am. And I have that Tuesday tussle that I do, which is exactly what your last statement was about: transcending the sport, taking boxing, the experiences of boxing and how it equates with life, and how life can be blended in with boxing. It's a show of an analogy and metaphor where I take on a weekly basis common application in both the sport and life and mesh them. So that's what's happening there. People can follow me on the Stormy B Man channel, and that's where you'll get that type of information coming from me. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. It's been another wonderful boxing talk here on your channel with this series. And salute to the brothers Kurt and Reggie and Renee Box Young. Thanks for having me here.
Definitely, man. I appreciate you, Stormy. Thank you so much for being here, man. It's always wonderful with you all here, man. Definitely. Reggie Owens, where can you be followed? Any last words, bro?
Yeah, man, I can be followed here on YouTube, Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, and that's both of the channels. Second channel just has a 2 at the end. Man, great discussion, man, and great listening to the OGs as always listening to OG wisdom. And that's why I listen to when Stormy B Man is doing the show, and especially when the 3 of them gather and they speak on this history. And like I said, I'm a boxing fanatic, boxing fan, and I learned a lot listening to a lot, because these are the lessons you don't get off of TV programs. I hear things about fighters that you ain't gonna hear on ESPN or any of that, because they don't speak and discuss that. I don't like listening to stuff in boxing that's put out by certain writers, because it's agenda based. It's meant to sway a certain feeling and projection and stuff. So I like listening to them speaking from their firsthand experience, because I've always noticed that. I don't want to go on too long when it comes to things even that I have experienced in life. Like, even I can go with the LA riots, for example, and I look into what certain publications put out, and it is far from the damn truth of what led up to these matters. And the same thing I can see in boxing. And then when I hear them speak on it, it adds a new perspective to things. And I like that. It's authentic, it's real, and I tune in. So I advise other people to tune in, start listening to this OG stuff, listen to lessons. But like I say, I'm a nerd about shit. So I've always been into wanting to learn learning, educating myself has always helped me throughout life, even from the environment I come through. Education has always helped me to succeed and persevere through shit. So I think that's kind of key to what people have to go through in life. But that's all I got, man. Thanks for having me on, man. And salute to the OGs.
Man, definitely, man. It's great to have you guys on. And then, I totally agree with everything you're saying, Reggie. And that's what it's all about, man. Real, recognize real, man. Real, recognize real. Definitely. Kurtis, any last words? And where can you be followed, bro?
Yes, sir. My name is Kurtis Anderson. I'm better known as Kurt Sugar. You can follow me on Stormy B-Man's channel every Thursday at 9 o'clock. The Three Wise Men of Boxing, me, Stormy, and Scrapbook. I just want to say Scrapbook, get better. We miss him, and every show is going to be dedicated to Scrapbook. But Thursday at 9 o'clock, we talk about everything from soup to nuts, from pillar to post, from the 1800s to the 1900s to the 2000s. Any fighter we come across, we have great content and we give a great show, man. So that's Three Wise Men of Boxing. Renee Box Young, I really like your channel, man. Can't wait to come back, man. You're doing a great job. Keep up the good work.
Definitely, man. Thank you so much. And to close off, we're going to go here. CJ says, this was a great boxing conversation. Definitely great. And Soccer Training says, great quality time. Yes, sir. Definitely. Well spent from great savvy experience. Oh, yes, panel. Of course. Thank you for the time, Renee. Thank you so much. And thanks to you guys, for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. Boxing Then and Now Part 6. And Lord willing, we're going to have a Part 7 very soon. Keep an eye out on my channel. Subscribe and like to all the brothers here, the channels. You know what I'm saying? Show support to each and every one of them. And, we're going to continue this series and we're going to continue growing and learning from the sport of boxing. We love you all. We are one community. And hey, Stormy, B-Man, Reggie, and Kurtis, just 1 minute after, okay? Right when I close, all right? Just 1 minute, all right? Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you soon. Till next time, Renee Box Young. Peace out, family.
Peace.